So we were doing the sutra number 6, and the sutra number 6 is completed. Now we would be graduating to the sutra number 7, Moha Varanat Siddhihi. That was the verse, the sutra number 6. That whatever intermediate level perfections or siddhis that you get, these siddhis have little to do with Parama Atma Tattva Bodha. They are definitely certain realizations and they confirm that you have been doing sadhana. However, they do not have much to do with the ultimate destination where you want to reach through your sadhana. That is what he mentions, that these are essentially having to do with the game of Maya and Moha. Then, what is the next step? That is the subject matter of the next sutra. Moho jayad ananta bhogat sahada vidya jayaha. So each of these words are important. Moho jayad. When you prevail over the game of Maya or Moha, that delusion, the power of that delusion, when you overcome, when you establish yourself there, then what happens is explaining Moha jayat ananta bhogat, because you see there are endless, uh, first thing, endless cycles in life which are kind of played out through these Maya Sakti, and we are trapped there. So he's saying all these expansions, extensions, they are boundless, infinite, okay? And they kind of are very expansive. There is no respite to how they hold us back. When you are able to overcome this, then what happens? You have Sahaja Vidya. What is this Sahaja Vidya? Because it's like you have this Sahaja Yoga, and Sahaja word is used by a lot of people in different ways. Sahaja Vidya is that Vidya or understanding or awareness of knowledge of your own Swarupa, that Swarupa Jnana, Sahaja Vidya. And that is inherent knowledge. You don't have to achieve it, you just have to remove layers and layers of faulty understanding or ignorance. Sahaja Vidya, that is what Jayaha. That is what you finally get. That Upalabdhi sort of blossoms in you. That is what is the, basically, very briefly, this is the meaning of the sutra. There is Siva Sutra Bimarshini. We'll enter there and we will go there. But first, we have to unravel the meaning of this particular word called moha. What is this moha and maya? If we can, we have already discussed that in the earlier chapters, but we'll revisit that idea to get a proper understanding so that we can put it in the proper perspective as we move forward. Now, let's look at the Shiva Sutra Bimarshini. What does he say? Mohasya. What is that moha is explaining? Akhyatyaatmaka samananta pasatmanaha mayayaha jayad. There are too many technical jargon here. Akhyatyaatmaka. Moho is what? Moho is some kind of a darkness, some kind of delusion. But there is a word called akhyati. There is a old theory called khyati-vada. Proper cognitive perception of something. If you have a wrong perception, that is some kind of akhyati. So the inability to recognize your pure self, that is akhyatyaatmaka. It's like a person is given some drinks where there were some intoxicants and he has forgotten who he is, and then other people are manipulating him and there is some game going on. Remember your student days. So somebody has taken a bit of bhang, some cannabis or whatever you call that, green drink that you have on holies and stuff like that. So somebody has lost some sense of who he is, and then he's dancing and he's doing this and that. He doesn't remember he has exams after 3 days. He doesn't remember he has to pay the fees, he has to meet some deadlines. No, he's relaxing, he's relishing. He's not bothered about anything. But the critical thing is that he's under the power of delusion, and that is what is troubling him. And this is moha. And the Tikakara is explaining Shiva Sutra, Kshemaraja, Akhyatyaatmaka Samananta. Now, there are two words I had mentioned. One, it is samana and unmana. Samana is a state, is a very technical term in Kashmiri Saivism, where the mind has been more or less annihilated. However, the mind, there are certain, what do you call, impressions are still around. It's like you are in a deep state of meditation. So you close the laptop, it's in a sleep mode. The windows have not vanished, the programs have not vanished, the hard disk is in very much in its presence. It's no more active. You have silenced it. Similarly, in the samana stage, because of sadhana, one particular aspirant is able to silence his mind, there's no problem. But the impressions of the mind, so mind is near about annihilated, but the impressions are there, means they may get reactivated, and the mind can still play the game with you. So you have to go to the next level, you have to completely drop the mind, and that stage is called unmana. Unmana is then you're ascending even from the last remnant of the activity of the mind, which is in a state of complete silence, but then you're jumping out of it, then mind is completely abandoned. That is what is mentioning. These are very complicated technical terms in Kashmir Saivism. Akhyatyaatmaka samananta pasatmanah mayaya. What is the swarup of Maya? He's saying. It tells you the wrong thing is right, akhyatyaatmaka, and then it will continue to play the game even in that samana stage where your mind is completely silent. And what is the nature? What is the swarupa? Pasatmanaha. It's actually a form of bondage. Maya yaha jayat. If you are able to be victorious, you prevail on the game of Maya, then what happens? Jayat means abhivavad. Abhivava. You defeat the game of Maya. Kidrisat, what is that Maya? Anantaha sanskara prasama paryantaha. Anantaha. This Maya and its manifestations are unlimited. So let's imagine that we have one powerful distraction in our life. Somebody has cricket as his main distraction. He's a student, he goes to the university, but then he's troubled by cricket. Whenever there's a match or something, he cannot focus on his studies. Somebody is married, he has a daughter, he's very obsessed with the educational performance of his daughter. Somebody is not married, he has a friend, boy or girl, he has a friend, he's obsessed with that person. Somebody has a job. So there are prominent sources of distraction. We try to eliminate, we try to conquer, we try to master them. But Maya is not mastered. You can conquer one of the children of Maya, which may take the shape of your love for your children, your job, your money, or your relationship, any particular aspiration you have, like Shastra, maybe your love for music or painting or anything. You can master all this. Yet Maya continues to play its game. That is what he's saying. What is this? Anantaha sanskara prashama paryantaha. Till you have removed that vasanakshaya, manonasa vasanakshaya. That is what we studied in the Bhagavad Gita in the sixth chapter. Do you know, use aruruksho and aruruha. The yoga rudha, the person who is already yoga rudha, what does he achieve? He is targeting manonasa vasanakshaya. Vasana is whatever is lying down, encrypted, of billions of birds. There they are lying down, encrypted. So you have to reduce them. How do you do that? By doing new activities, replace the old ones. So by doing punyena papam apanudati, by having punya, you are removing old sanskaras through nitya karma, sometimes even through kamya karmas, naimitya karma, prayasthita karmas. We try to replace one set of books in our library with a new set of books, one set of karmas with a new set of karmas. That is how Ratnakara became Valmiki. So he's saying, Sanskara prasama paryantaha avhoga vistaru, avhoga means vistara, yasya tadrisat. That is the Maya, and you have to win over that powerful game. It's a cobweb in which you are captured. You don't even know. You think you are free and you are moving on the violence of samsara with full discrimination without knowing you are already part of the game. That is the most frightening thing. We think we are freely deciding when we are already been sort of programmed. You remember that famous song, Hotel California. You are here in this hotel. You are programmed to be here. You can join. You can say, I'm leaving, but you can never quit this place. You cannot go anywhere. There is no return from that particular thing. It's a very frightening song. If you, it's very philosophical. Some people say it's about drug addiction. Some people say it's about the hippie culture. Somebody say this is the new technocratic culture. Once we have entered, there is no respite. But to my mind, this is the most powerful Vedantic song if you listen to it. You cannot, you are programmed to be here. Until you understand the program, there is no respite. You will continue to be here. Therefore, he is saying, Sanskara prasama paryantaha avoga vistara jasya tadrisat. And therefore, he is saying, Swachhata Tatra, he is quoting, Vedananadi dharmasya. Then that we will go, he will say, again, that's the whole thing will come. Vedana Nadi dharmasya paramatmatva bodhana varjana paramatmatve tasmad vidyeti chotyate. We'll go there. So first we are discussing what is Ajnana, what is Maya. We are struggling there. Ityadina, with all these sentences, nirupita rupayaha, that Maya which has been defined, explained, rupayaha, sahaja vidyayaha jayo labha bhavati. So you have this whole range of impressions which tie us down, which rule over us, and we are kind of moved into life blindfolded, where we think we are taking right decisions, we are doing great things. However, we are only a puppet in the hands of Maya, which is playing out things between, through us. She is Bhavatarini, Divine Mother, and she also entraps us depending on what's our aspiration. Therefore, he's saying, Sahaja Vidyayaha Jayo Labho Bhavati. Now, you know that three upayas that we have discussed, Anavopaya, Saktopaya, Sambhovopaya. Sambhovopaya is something with that pure consciousness, Sambhovopaya for the advanced aspirants. We have already finished that chapter. Then Saktopaya, Bheda and Abheda together. Saktopaya, Anavopaya, and finally we are dealing with this Anavopaya at the bottom of it. Okay. Anavopa is because you are accepting your limitedness, your restricted consciousness, your location as a jiva, a pasu bhava. The, the Pashupati has become Pashu. The Shiva has become Jiva. Why? Because this restriction, which defines our existence, our consciousness, appears real to us. We have forgotten our Swarupa. That's our problem. Therefore, Yasyat Adrsat, he's saying, Ityadina Nirupita Rupayaha Sahaja Vidyayaha Jayo Labha Bhavati Anavo Upayasyapi Saktopaya Paryavasanat Iti Uktatvat Tathacha Swachande. He's giving a glimmer of hope. You may be in undergraduation, not an issue. Through your PG degree, you will also graduate to doing a PhD. We may be now discussing Anubhapaya, but remember, this is the most important aspect of the sadhana, because you are Pasubhava, no problem, because we are laying down the foundation for the next higher level of sadhana. We need not feel small. We need not feel that we are too helpless and vulnerable. How do I get out of this situation? No. This is the sadhana he's saying. Slowly you'll graduate towards Saktopaya and then the ultimate stage of the Sambhavapaya. And then, there is a beautiful thing. Beyond Sambhavapaya, there is Anupaya. There is no Upaya anymore. There is no method. Once you have exposed yourself that pure divinity, it reveals itself to you. You are no more trying. That is what also we have done. That Anupaya, that ultimate stage. Okay. So, iti upakramya, he's saying, Samanantam bararohe pasajalam anantakam. O Bararohe, Lord Shiva is addressing Mother, Divine Mother. He's saying, do you know the Samanantam, till this end of the Samana stage? Pasajalam Anandakam. How many, how many chains you have to break? Limitless. Is there one or two shackles? You can unshackle yourself. Is there one or two, four, five? How many obstructions? Unlimited obstructions. Until we are terminating that state of samana, which is quite a desirable state to be in. But we have to go beyond that to the unmana stage, where we are ascending to get Siva Bhava. Until we embark on that ultimate stage or penultimate stage, we would still be vulnerable to game of Maya, which may pull us down because the vasanas are very much there. The causal factors are there. If the causal factors are there, anytime there could be a relapse. So, if I had once gone to a rehabilitation center, and it's a very funny situation. There was one guy who's retired, a very rich man, comes from a super rich family, and he has alcoholism. And he's saying, "Okay, Swamiji, can you tell me? I have left alcohol about 32 times. I'm here again, and my children have put me here. They have said I'm willingly coming, not an issue. It's a very expensive rehab center. But Swamiji, can you tell me, doesn't Gita already tell you that because of Prarabdha this is happening, why are they troubling me, sending me here again and again? And you're smelling." So he starts his day with a few drinks. He cannot survive without it. Apparently, he stays here and he knows how to behave very well and he impresses everyone, and his children come and take him home. Very qualified person. I didn't ask who he was, but his children had sort of come in a very fancy car, which will be several million rupees. So obviously, he came from a very super rich family. And then his children keep him there, and after some time, he behaves, and then he goes home. And then after a couple of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 months, and then there's a relapse. If we look at ourselves, we are all in some way addicts. It's not about only alcohol addiction is addiction. The biggest addiction is sansara addiction. There is a relapse of sansara into us. We try several times. We are in very high levels of spiritual equanimity during a sankirtan. When you go to any ISKCON temple and there is some bhajan going on, or you go to some pita, you do meditation, you do this Purasharana, you do these Navaratris, you quickly ascend to a very high plane, or you go to a very resort, or you're away from whole samsara. And the moment you are coming back, you reach the airport, there is a relapse of samsara slowly. Starts with a long queue, and somebody cuts the queue and moves ahead, and you lose your temper. You say, "What the hell are you doing? Can you see that I'm here? Why didn't you be in the queue?" Samsara creeps into our consciousness and pulls us back. Therefore, he is saying, Samanantam vararohe pasajalam anantakam iti upakramya. Okay, so that now I'm directly not going to the next levels because that is a little direct thing, but we need to spend a little more time on what is this moha, and we need to have a little more discussion on it. Now, we just have to revisit something we have discussed much earlier. Okay. So, what happens is that this Maya, what is this Maya? We have to first make sense of it. What is this Moho? He says Moho means Maya. Moho is equivalent to Maya. Then what is Maya? Okay. So, this Maya Tattva is essentially, there are different sutras and mantras and statements. One of them, Malam Ajnanam Ichanti Sansaram Kurakaranam. Malam Ajnanam Ichanti. These are the impurities which crops up. These impurity crops up in us. And this is the mother of the sansara. Srishti and Sanghara, everything starts with that. Ajnanad vadhyate lokaha tataha srishticha sangriti. Ajnanat. Actually, we are not in bondage. These are imaginary chains. Sansara is imaginary. If it were real, there'll be no mukhya. Anirmukhya prasanga. There'll be no mukhya. Because if we are actually in a real jail, by reading Vedanta, doing meditation, we cannot escape it. We have to do a jailbreak in real terms. That's not possible. So, this is a mental frame. We have accepted this as true. In Vedanta, they give us several examples. One of the examples is You must have seen in different parties, especially in Eastern India and Bengal, Orissa, especially in South India, they will have a small cage with doors and they keep opening and closing it, and there will be a parrot inside. And there will be several cards, several envelopes with some pictures, and they will ask the parrot to come out and it will start, biting different letters, and then he picks up one envelope and he goes inside. And then the owner of that parrot, the parrot box, he opens it and he finds out and shows you there is the picture of Durga, and there is a small sheet. He reads it out and he says that you have to, bow down to Durga and do her prayer and stuff like that. And these are the obstacles in your mind. This is pretty random. Many times I've tried it. I've said, okay, ask the parrot to again choose one. He chooses another. There is no rule or regulation. The parrot is at freedom to pick up anything that impresses you. Now, the most important question is why the parrot doesn't fly away? Because the parrot is permitted to come out of the cage and is sitting and is obeying the master. But why doesn't it fly away? It doesn't fly away. And I was asking somebody, how does that happen? The Vedanta Acharya, my Acharya, he told me, Pujya Santi Dharmanandi, he tells beautiful stories and anecdotes. He says, you know what? They actually tie the legs of these bird, whether it's a pigeon or it's a parrot or whatever, to that inside one of these you have points inside the cage. And then they keep the door open. The bird tries to fly away, but there's an invisible wire or some kind of a thread tied to its leg so it cannot fly. So it tries a few times, 100 times maybe. Then it knows I can never fly. So it returns to the cage. I said it's more comfortable. I'm getting food. It lives there. That's what all of us are. So we are in the cage. Now the thread has been removed, but the fear is there that we cannot fly. Freedom is an impossibility. This has been hammered into our brain through millions and millions of births, early failures, and anxieties and insecurities. So we are not in a position to take that breakaway decision to be free. So we are there. Therefore, he's saying, Ajnanad vadhyate lokah tatah srishtischa sangritihi. So these samsara and pralaya, all this are imaginary. Nobody, bandha and moksha, both are imaginary. That's what Advaita Vedanta finally says. Like, for example, if you are a physicist, astrophysicist, you are dealing with cosmology and stuff like that. If you ask him, is this solar system real and all? He says, all real. But then, I'm talking about black holes and dark matter and dark energy. These are higher level realities. He's not too much fascinated by the states of matter, rocks, and water, and this and that. He said, okay, talk to some other physicist, not me. He's talking about a grand reality. Similarly, this sansara and everything, from the perspective of the details, these are phenomenally real. Nothing to deny. At the same time, when you ascend to the next higher level, you talk to a quantum physicist, and you go to the next higher level, go deeper and deeper, they are dealing with subtler and grander realities. And the theories and the concepts they lay out before you are much different, who do not have any time left for the details that we are stuck with. Therefore, he's saying this is both are basically imaginary. Therefore, what is this Maya then? You see, Atmo Gopanatmika Krida, Lord Shiva is hiding himself. It's like this, that the child wants to play a game with the mother, and the mother decides to become a tigress. She covers her head and she comes, and the baby is super happy. They play that game. The mother suddenly, there's a calling bell, somebody presses the calling bell, she realizes that the mother-in-law or the father-in-law both have come back. They had gone to the temple or the hospital. She immediately drops everything, the veil, and she opens the door, and she's a different person. Similarly, this Paramashiva, he has to employ his Maya Sakti to create this whole sansara, because this is delusional, but it requires him to hide himself. It's very imaginary. He creates this sansara. Without Shakti, he cannot do anything. Shiva, without that Ikara, that Shakti is Shava. It's like a dead body. The activating force is the mother force, the divine force. Now, Coming here now, what happens is he's explaining that this Swatyantra Sakti, it's his own sovereign power. You cannot ask why is so. Paramashwarena Swaswatantra Saktya Bhasita Swarupa Gopana Rupaya Mahamaya Saktya. What is that Mahamaya Sakti? Because of which sansara is possible. So there are two words there. We'll deal with it. One is Maya Sakti and Maya Tattva. There are very subtle differences between these two. What is this Mahamaya Shakti then? It is, he's saying what? Paramashwarena, this Parameshwara, Swa Swatyantira Saktya, of his own will, in sovereign power. Abhasita Swarupa Gopana Rupaya. This is not a real game of hiding himself. He is ever present. There is no reality which is not Shiva. There is nothing which is not Brahman. What are these books, cable, computer? Yeah, all these are Brahman because the foundation for all of this is actually Brahman. Depends on where we are looking at, what we are thinking of, what reality we are stuck with. Therefore, he's saying, So Satyantira Sakta Abhasita Swarupa. Abhasita, what is there? As if Swarupa Gopana Rupaya Mahamaya Saktya. That is the Mahamaya Sakti. Then he's saying, what is the Sakti? There are two kinds, Mahamaya and Amaya Tattva. Mahamaya Prabhavena. You remember that Saptasati Chandi that we read. Then you know there was this businessman and there was a king. The king had lost his kingdom. His children and everyone, they had sort of abandoned him. Then there is a businessman, his children and everybody have abandoned him. They both have been left on the street with nothing to hang on to, and they want to figure out what is the meaning of life, and they are going to that Muni. And then the sannyasi with his students, he say, okay, I'll figure out. I'll explain why my children, my servants, they have been very disloyal. Why am I still thinking about my children? The businessman asks. The king also has feeling for his children. He's saying, look, this is the game of Maya. What does he say? Mahamaya Prabhavena Sansara Stitikarina. That is that Prabhava. Sansara Sthiti, the Srishti and Sthiti in Vilaya, everything. She is the cause. Mahamaya, Harastesha, Lord Shiva, Harehe, Harashesha, Mahamaya Taya Samyahate Jagata. Sam Mohyate. All of us are deluded in this sansara. Mohyate Jagata. Balad Akrishya Mohaya Mahamaya Prayachati. Even the wisest people, they are not spared. They are all pulled into this game of Maya. Mahamaya Prayachi Taya Vishrujati Vishwam Jagat Etat Characharam. This whole sansara is created, then there is Srishti and Sthiti and Vilaya, everything, because of this Mahamaya Shakti. What is that? Let's understand. There are some beautiful aspects to it. So, this Maya Shakti and Tattva Rupa, first let's deal with what is this Mahamaya. The idea is like this, a little subtle, but I tell you, this is very beautiful if we pay attention to it. But unlike in other schools, in Sankhya schools, and Shiva and Shakti are totally distinct. The Purusha and Prakriti are distinct. Here in the Kashmiri Darshan, this is Advaita only, non-dual philosophy. Then what is Shakti? There is never ever Shiva who is Shakti Rahitaha, and there is never ever Shakti which is Shiva Rahita. They are never away from each other. That is the beauty. It's one reality. It's one supreme reality. Then, how do I explain what is Vimarsha Shakti? Ma Parvati or Durga is the self awareness of Lord Shiva. He has to have self awareness to think that he's a creator, he will create. So, there is some Bheda which is coming out of that. That is part of his Maya Shakti. He's explaining what? When you know Paramashiva has his sovereign energy, his power, that supreme state, and there are two aspects to our consciousness: ahanta, idanta, me and this, I and this. Ahanta, idanta, idam is this, I and this. These are two aspects to any consciousness. Now, in the ultimate state of Shiva consciousness, there is no idanta different from ahanta. Everything is me, aham Vishwa. That is the ultimate thing. Where is there? What is there which is other than Shiva? For any sansara, he has to become Ishvara. He has to become God. That means he has to see some distinction between him and his creation. This is only a perceptual difference, not real. And then he's explaining, so ahanta and idanta, then when these two begin to appear as if they're different in that consciousness, and then there is a sankalpa, aham bahushyam prajaya. How this whole sansar happens, Hiranyagarbha wanted, I would like to be many. Ekaki na ramate, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, why Lord created all this sansar? He was getting bored, he was lonely. He was lonely, so he created sansara. He can have fun, he can have lila. You cannot be in love just by yourself. So, sankalp, so this unmukhata, I shall create. But there, idanta, thisness has not emerged. That is the primary source. That is the Maya Sakti saying. That is the Mahamaya Sakti. So it's the beginning of the Veda Abhavasa, appearance of duality. That is the primal movement where now duality will emerge. Not yet there. Sansara not yet there. So there is that spandana. There is that whole first movement in creation when that supreme consciousness is aware of itself and it wants to create. There is some kind of an external orientation, unmukhata. Then that is sukshma, that is the subtlest thing, subtlest aspect of his creative energy. And that is Mahamaya. That is the beginning. That is the Bindu. Bindu word means that Maya Tattva, ultimate thing. Some people refer to Bindu as Brahman. Not a big problem. Because ultimately this that Bindu is same thing, out of which everything comes. And then from there, the Swatantra Shakti of Lord Shiva will become contracted slowly. There will be a contraction of his own creation, of his own choice. He contracts it. And when the contraction starts, you have Malatraya, three kinds of impurities. What are these impurities? We have discussed that earlier. I'm just reminding ourselves of that. One is, and please understand this, these three words will keep coming in our sadhana: Anava Mala, Maya Mala, and a Karma Mala. What is Anava Mala? You see yourself as Anu, Sankochanatmaka Chaitanya. So, this is Swatantriya Hani. You forget who you are. Anatmani Atma and Atmani Anatma. You see self in non self. This is my car, my house, my property, my fame, my achievement. This none of this is Atma, but you have Atma Buddhi there. So this is Anavamala. Anavamala is what? Inability to recognize your purity, recognize your divinity, recognize your supreme consciousness aspect. That is the first impurity. That is the mother of other two impurities. Then there is Maya Mala. What is that Maya Mala? That Maya thing we are discussing. Bheda Bhinna Vedya Pratha. Bhinna Vedya. Now, X is not Y. So this is me and this is X, this is Z, this is Hari, this is India, this is Pakistan. All these dualities and diversities appear real because of this Maya Mala. Okay? Once you have this Bheda Buddhi, what will follow? What should I do? Who is good for me? Who is not good for me? So, what do you call it? Subha Subha Vasana. This is Subha Vasana, this is Asubha Vasana. Then you want to do what is useful to you. You will not like to do what is not useful to you. You like to avoid. So, that is Karma Mala. So, these are Malatraya, three kinds of impurities. One is Karma Mala, one is Maya Mala, one is Anava Mala, ultimately. Okay. So he's now saying what? Parama yat swatantram durghata sampadanam maheshasya. That ultimate thing. Yat swatantram durghata sampadana maheshasya agatana ghatana patiyasi. What is not possible, he makes it possible. That is Maya Sakti of Lord Shiva. Devi Maya Sakti hi swatma varanam sivasya etat. And then what is this Maya Sakti saying? Look at the beauty of that language. अपने आप को ढकना. Paramashiva is cloaking himself. Now he'll become Ishvara. Now he'll become a creator. He'll become a master. He'll become a master if they're followers. He'll become Ishvara if there is samsara. So he needs to hide his supremacy, his ultimate luminosity. He has to temperate them, moderate them. And that moderation involves recognizing other realities, creating other realities. It starts with some kind of a movement towards duality. That is what is Mahamaya Sakti. So that is the Swatyantira Sakti. So, and what is this? That Paramashiva Swarupa Gopanatmika Lila. That's what he wants to do. He wants to play hide and seek with us. Look at the beauty of it and how much we need devotion. That's why we can never unravel the mysteries of it. Therefore, he becomes what? Jagannatya. He's a Nartaka. You remember that? Nataraj. We all think maybe he was a big dancer. That's what. No, these are all highly symbolic picturization of the energies of Lord Shiva. This drama is an enactment. Thakur used to say, Jadoo is not real, Jadugar is real. The one who creates this drama is real. This drama is not real. So he's Jagan Nartaka, he's dancing. Okay? So he's doing that Avinaya. And therefore he's called Trailokya Dhurta. He's the smartest, most cunning guy. He plays around. He is the one who becomes a cop. He is the one who becomes a robber. He is the affected. He is the attacker. He is playing millions and millions of role, taking our own sanskaras and karmas into account. He plays out different roles. He's there in all of us. He's there in our friends and our enemies, in our successes, in our failures. He's there everywhere. But in what form? We are able to see only those diversities, and then we get confounded. Where is Lord Shiva? Why all this is happening? But the moment we realize that this game is going to go on, then we want to return to the ringmaster, and he's Paramashiva. He's the ultimate being. Therefore, he's saying you can call him Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. These are all in the Shiva Parampara. He's Shiva. If you go to the Vaishnava Parampara, he's Krishna. It doesn't make much of a difference. Both are blue, both have beautiful eyes, both are all the time smiling. Therefore, he's saying that so all these two sutras are going to come. Rango Antaratma, Nartaka Atma. These are the two sutras we are going to do going forward after just one or two. So in this Rangamancha, there's a dance, there's a platform, there's a game going on. And the secret is there is Swa Atma Gopana Rupa Leela is enacting. Okay. Now, this Maya Sakti then is that this Anavrita Shiva, the one who is not veiled, he's beyond all veils, he is deliberately doing Atma Achadana or Swarupa Gopana. He's hiding himself, not revealing himself. And therefore, this Swatyantra Sakti, that sovereign will and power which he has, that he tempers with, that he limits. That becomes a necessity. How do I explain this? So let's imagine uh, the finance secretary has gone on leave, and the budget has to be signed, the budget papers. They have to be presented by the minister, the revenue minister, the finance minister the next day. And then the cabinet secretary or the chief secretary of a state, what does he do? What happens to the secretary? No, sir, he's on leave. Has he given any charge to anyone? No, sir, he has put an application to you that there is some urgency, is going on leave. He couldn't do otherwise. So it's not an issue. Bring the file to me, I'll sign it. So he assumes the duty as the finance secretary and signs that file. Then he puts it to himself as chief secretary and signs it. The universal has to assume a particular role, and therefore, in order to do that particular task, it appears to limit itself, reduce itself, makes itself more definite without losing its sovereign power. And that is what Lord Shiva does with his Maya Sakti. He doesn't become limited, but Maya Tattva is already there. And I will explain that Maya Tattva, Panchakanchukatva. So, and then Mahamaya and this Maya Tattva, both of them You see, one is tirodhitsa, that is the word. They want to annihilate, remove, cloud, cover, veil. One covers the ahanta aspect of this Maya Sakti. It covers it. Okay? So that is the whole thing. So what happens that Mahamaya, Maya Sakti, and Maya Tattva, what is the basic difference? We have already discussed that in the chapter 1 itself. You know, Lord Shiva has these five Saktis. What are these five Saktis? One is Chit Sakti, that's Sarva Vyapakatva, is all pervading. That is his Chit Sakti. Then Ananda Sakti, Nityatva, is Ananda Sakti, there is no beginning, no end, Nitya. And then you have Ichha Sakti, which is the next level, where this Purnatva, Sarvakartukatva, he can do this because he has supreme will. And then he has Jnana Sakti, Sarvajnatva, Sarvakartukatva, and Sarvajnatva. And then finally, what? Kriya Sakti, he can do anything. Supreme will, supreme knowledge, and supreme action. Ichha Sakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Sakti all are there. And beyond that, there is Ananda Sakti and Chit Sakti. Now, you know, when actually the limitation exercise he has enacted, up Atma Sankochana, Swatma Gopana, he has done that. What happens, you know, they become Pancha Kanchukas of Maya. Kanchukas is, you know, Kanchuka is like blouse or veil or whatever. The dress, Kanchuka, is a kind of veil. Same Maya Sakti has become now force of clouding our consciousness, which was essentially an aspect of the sovereign will and knowledge and action of Lord Shiva. Now it has become a clouding energy. That is what is Maya Tattva. Maya Sakti is Suddha. This is Asuddha. That is the basic difference. So, how does that happen? There is a kind of inversion. And how does that happen? I'm explaining. The Sarva Vyapakatva of Chit Shakti, it becomes Niyati, fate. You see, you are controlled by Niyati, this faithfulness, Bhagya, stuff like that. And that Ananda Shakti, what is the representative of the Lord, Supreme Lord's Nityatva, has become now Kala, limited time. Okay? Nityatva has become Kala. So that supreme, unlimited, infinite time is now presenting itself as a limited time. Everything that you see around you is ephemeral. It has a beginning and an end. And that Purnatva, Ichha Sakti, supreme will, what it has become? Raga. Raga, you know, limited like. So you have attraction for X, Y, Z. It's not supreme Ichha Sakti. It is Raga as a form of attachment. It's tainted by some desire. That is Raga. Okay. And then that Sarvajnatva of the Lord, which is Jnana Sakti, what it becomes? It becomes Vidya. Vidya means expertise in a domain. You are either an engineer or a doctor, or you're an expert in philosophy or literature or science or mathematics. Your wisdom is domain specific. So Sarvajnatva becomes Vidya. And then Sarvakartukatva, that supreme force of action, becomes Kala. Beautiful, isn't it? So you are an expert in singing. You are very good. You are adept at maybe dance. You are adept at investments. You are adept at technical things. So this is how Lord Supreme Kriya Sakti, Jnana Sakti, Ichha Sakti, Ananda Sakti, and Chit Sakti, these are Pancha Saktis, they become reduced and they become in the form of Pancha Kanchukas, wailing powers. By the way, Lord Shiva, what does he do actually? They are Panchakrityas, Srishti, Sthiti, Sanghara, and Nigraha and Anugraha. And that Anugraha Sakti is all the time we are crying to get, because without that Anugraha, we are not going to get any liberation or Jnana or anything. So he is the one who does both Nigraha and Anugraha. He is the one who will dissuade you from achieving anything. He is the one who will facilitate you to achieve anything. So Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Nigraha, Anugraha, these are the Panchakrityas and Panchasaktis, Chit Shakti, Ananda Sakti, and Ichha Sakti, Jnana Sakti, and Kriya Sakti, and Pancha Kanchukas will become Kala, Vidya, Raga, Kala, Niyati. These are the Maya Tattvas. Now we know that these Maya Tattvas then are a product of a particular product level reality of, and then they play their own games of what that Maya Sakti. It leads to an appearance of that Maya Sakti to assume the form of Maya Tattvas. Okay? And these Maya Tattvas, though there is Ahanta Tirodhana, the heights that Ahanta Paramashiva, one is Suddhadva, and then Asudhadva, a level of Suddha thing and Asuddha thing. Something very subtle and something not very subtle. And this Maya Sakti, there is further explanation of it. Sacha eka vyapini rupa nishkala jagato nidhi anadyanta siveshani vyayahina cha kathyate. Malini Vijayuttara Tantra, it says, Sacha sa maya cha eka vyapini rupa, all pervading. Nishkala, it doesn't have any parts. She herself has no parts, she's all pervading. Jagato nidhi, and that's the center, nidhi, this is the wealth. Because everything is possible because of her gain. Jagato nidhi, anadyanta, no beginning and no end. Anadyanta Shiveshani. She is the Maya Sakti, Ishani of Lord Shiva, Shiveshani. Lord Shiva is saying, Oh Shiveshani, Vyayahina. She's Abhyaya also. This Abhyaya word also refers to Prakriti or Maya Sakti. Abhyaya Vyahina Chakathyate. Adyo Veda Bhavo Sojo Yo Vivagam Anupeyivan Garvikrita Ananta Bhava Vivaga Sapara Nisha. In Tantra Loka he's saying. First Bheda Avabhasa, appearance of some kind of a duality or diversity, is the beginning, the source of all that is this Maya Sakti. Maya Saktya eva tatrayam. Tat means malatrayam. Maya Saktya eva. Because of the game of this Maya Sakti, only this Anavamala, Mayamala, and a Karmamala, they manifest in our lives, which means impurities creep into our lives. But you might say, in a philosophical way, because this whole sadhana is all about to tell you, they'll first forcefully tell you, and there are so many cages that you have to break open to move forward, and they will say finally that all these are delusional. It's like you study Newton in physics, and after some time they start teaching you, the quantum mechanics. They'll tell you about Heisenberg's principle. They'll take you further. And they will say these laws are no more relevant. We are not saying he was stupid, but we are dealing with a higher level of realities. So they will take you above. So they will talk about particle nature of light and wave nature of light and all that. They'll go to a next level where they're talking about something else. They are not concerned about these things. They go to a higher level. Similarly, this whole philosophical game we are playing right now is to presume these realities do exist for our sadhana, knowing fully well that paramarthikatvena, these are just appearances. You might say that it's all stupidity, isn't it? No, this is not stupidity, because these chains are real until and unless we see through them. And therefore, we have to do sadhana. Therefore, we have to presume they exist, and we have to accept how they are interacting, how they are playing out in our lives. So, what is this Maya Tattva? There is a comparison with the kidney beans. If you look at a kidney bean, Simbikavat, Simbika means that same, they call it in Hindi. If you look at it, what? You put that thing in moist soil, then the whole plant emanates out of it. But it hides everything there, right? This Maya Sakti is like that. Maya Tattva is Simbikavat. So, Bahirmukhatayam Bhavino Vibhagasya Simbika Phalavat Asyam Garvikaro Asti. So, as if it's pregnant with this whole details which are going to emerge out of it. It's pregnant with the details of the samsara, this Maya Tattva. And then she makes this experience of apurnata. What is this whole discussion about? Swatyantrahani apurna manyata. Why the Shiva becomes Pashu, Shiva becomes Jiva? because he's struck by two changes in the consciousness. One is apurna manyata, it feels insufficient. It feels, we feel, all of us feel unfulfilled. Apurna manyata and swatantrahani. We are lost our sovereignty. We are all the time vulnerable, we feel helpless. This is a game of Lord Shiva in order to create this whole sansara. Once we recognize that is the return journey. That is the return journey to our own pure. So he's saying, then this Maya Sakti, what is the game it's playing? They write it very beautiful, in beautiful language. Apurnata prathanena minadi hinasti iti Maya Sakti uchyate. It's a very beautiful language. It's not real. Maya Sakti, as if it causes harm. Hinasti, hingsa karti hai, as if it harms, as if it throttles. What is that? Minati hings Atma Swarupa. It hurts, but it's very easy to understand. Many of the times we do self sabotage. We know this is not in our interest, we do it. And why do we do it? We want to experience life in that domain. And is it to our advantage? No. Why do we do it? We don't even know many times. When there is what Carl Jung says, the shadow self gets activated, and then do things which is contrary to what you aspire to be, how you see yourself. In your pure imagination, how you see yourself, sometimes you do things or you try to do things exact in a different way, contrary to your self perception. Similarly, this Maya Shakti appears to harm that Swarupa Abhavasa, the Atma Swarupa, it harms as if. Okay? And therefore, Tirodhanakari Maya Vida Puna, as if it sort of annihilates, obliterates your Atma Swarupa Jnana. Therefore, and what is that Maya Sakti? He again reiterates. There is nothing real called Maya Sakti. It is essentially, it is Bhedatmika Buddhi, because reality is Abhedatmaka. So this Vedatmika Buddhi, then it becomes Jada Swarupa. It becomes inanimate. It is devoid of Chaitanya. See? Why? Because that Sa Jada Bheda Rupatvad Karya Chasya Jadam Yataha. Even though Lord Shiva has his own sovereign willpower, he tainted by this Maya Sakti of his own will, then what he's saying is that everything he does is now Jada, is gross. It's material. There's a material reality. And what is this materiality? He's saying nothing. Materiality is Sankucha Rupata. This whole gross physical reality is nothing but a limitation of the pure consciousness. It's a limited edition of that pure consciousness. So that is Sankuchita Prakasha Rupata. That means what? The Sarvagya becomes Alpagya. Sarva Kartikatva has now transformed itself into Kala, Alpa Kartikatva. So, essentially everything gets removed. Now, this Mahamaya creates Panchakanchukas. We just discussed it. Now, when we try to understand it, when we are able to overcome it, then we will reach that stage. And that part we will do tomorrow. We have about 3 minutes. So, any questions or doubts anybody can put forth, or we'll resume from here. I'm not trying to rush through it because it's a very beautiful thing. And so I'm not directly going to the Shiva Sutra Vimarshani. I'll go back to that text tomorrow, and this sutra will complete tomorrow. Any doubts, any questions anyone has? Okay, so we can do the Shanti Mantra. Yeah,
Swamiji,
please do.
may,
Yes,
may I just keep it?
yes,
As Swamiji, you rightly said that these Maya Shakti, Maya sutras are basically help us to, I mean, it bog us down. But in the first place, why it has been created by Siva? Uh, it is there is a grand, I mean, play that is being perceived by Siva Sutra, but because want to get that we get entangled into that Maya Sakti, and in the first place, why it has been created.
There is
Yeah,
no justification. That is no justification. You see, the I had we had discussed that earlier. The basic difference between Advaita Vedanta or the non-dualistic Buddhism, the Sunyavada Buddhism, and the Vishishtadvaita Vaishnava philosophy and the Shiva Sutra or the Saiva Darshana, the basic things is like this. For the Sunyavadis or the Buddhists, all this is not real. Swarupatah not real. Hand is not a hand. Ultimately, you go and figure out these are cells. Cells are coming from where? Ultimately, there is nothing. So they call it Panchaskandha. So this whole reality is just a construction. And this fascinates a lot of physicists and a lot of Western philosophers are fascinated by this. It's a very powerful construction. The reality is essentially a construct. There's nothing real about it. It's just a construct. Advaita Vedanta doesn't say it's just a mental construct. They will say, okay, it's a construct. Who said it? Nothing exists. Who is saying this? Do you exist or not? Because we are astivadis. We are not nastivadis. So they will say Brahman is there, but this is like a holographic projection of what is not there. Then this is appearing. So where from Maya Sakti came, why this whole sansara created, the Advaitavadi will say that for the Jnani all this is delusional. There was no when Maya Sakti actually started working. If you ask the question, what Advaita Vedanti will say, okay, you are seeing a snake in a rope. When was that snake born? Does it have a date of birth? Ignorance never has a date of birth. It starts when it starts. You don't know until you realize it is there. So, this Maya and everything, they would say fundamentally Maya is also not there because they are Advaitavadis, they are Brahmavadis. Though Maya and Brahma both cannot exist, only Brahman exists. Maya is a theoretical tool to explain samsara. All these Srishtis and all the details in Puranas and all, Advaita Vedanta will say, listen to what Upanishad says. Ekam eva advitiyam sadeva sumya idamagra asit ekam eva advitiyam. It was there only one. Asadeva Sumyedamagra Asid Ekameva Ditiyam. It was Asad, it is Sad. That means what is Avyakrita has become Vyakrita. What is invisible has become visible. It's just a process of manifestation. The story is not real. It's just a story. Why? So that you will have moksha icha, you will have aspiration to realize the ultimate truth. That is what is Advaita Vedanta. So they discard this whole debate on Maya by saying this is a theoretical construct, there's nothing real about it. The Vaishnavas will say the Lord is supreme. Therefore, this sansara is not completely delusional because these are all created out of our vasanas and karmas and kriyas. This is not because of a faulty perception. These are all creation because of your karmas. And why Lord Vishnu is creating, they will say it's his supreme will. So in Kashmiri Saivism, it's even smarter. They said this is an invalid question as to why he creates it, because that is the way the samsara plays out so that we realize the truth and we'll recover our Parama Shiva Tattva. Now, your question is, why the hell? What is the need for all this? Everything would have been peaceful. What was the problem? Actually, somebody might ask from a scientific point of view, why was there a Big Bang? But we never ask this question to the scientists. We are happy to ask this question to the theologians, but we don't ask why was there Big Bang? What is the need for it? Why is this samsara? Again, it's all going to be nothing, no? Ultimately, we have a solar system, and it's going to will get annihilated into some black hole. Why was it created? There are certain questions to which we do not have any definite answers. It seems it's part of a grand plan that this whole reality will enter into visible phases and then invisible phases and will continue. There'll be details and there'll be no details. But here, what is the purpose of having this discussion is not to settle the cosmological questions, but actually to elevate our consciousness, look for some kind of enlightenment. Because if we get stuck with the cosmological questions, then we'll become philosophers. Because ultimately, in our tradition, they don't challenge the Shastras. What they say is these insights are there, and therefore, how to make use of them for our benefit, for the betterment of our own spiritual sadhana. So the cosmological questions what you are raising are valid questions, and you might say that have not been perfectly answered by any theologians of any of the schools. They have their own theological explanations. But the Advaita Vedantis and all these mystical schools, they bypass the question, saying, what is the purpose of this? Lord, Buddha, when he was asked, he said, 10 questions I will not discuss, I will not answer. You are in misery. You have come to me because you are not happy. I am telling you how to be happy, how to be at peace with yourself. Let's discuss that instead of you asking me a few cosmological questions where we are not putting an end to our misery. We are not putting an end to our aspiration for self understanding. I think one could give a similar answer, but I agree with you that there are a lot of cosmological questions like why is there is so much pain in the samsara? There are no absolute